Y'all ready for this?
Bravo.
Welcome to Sports Kid Drama Kid. I'm Jim. I'm the Sports Kid.
I'm Andi. I'm the Drama Kid.
Welcome to our show. If you'd like to support it, you can do that on Patreon.
Yes, patreon.com/SKDK pod. We've got a whole bunch of bonus episodes over there for you to listen to or watch, or if you just want to support the show.
Yep. And we're going to get into it today with a college football episode. Because college football season is the first football season that comes back every year. Mm-hmm. It's actually happening, I think, like next weekend. There's going to be some games.
Awesome.
And I am excited. The Badgers got Luke Fickell, second year, new coach who came from Cincinnati.
I hope he's not fickle and doesn't enter the transfer portal right away.
I think he's going to be good at managing the fickle people in the portal, hopefully, because he's definitely more of a personality. We're not going to talk about Luke Fickell today, but we are going to talk about another prominent college football coach.
Okay.
This is the Lane Kiffin episode. Andi?
It doesn't ring any bells. You know it doesn't ring any bells. Don't bother asking me.
I knew this one in particular would ring maybe the least bells.
The name Lane Kiffin to me sounds like the name of like the meanest, most popular girl at your private Catholic all-girls school, high school.
Lane Kiffin is a man.
Okay.
In this case.
I think she's also the queen bee at a private Catholic school.
Yeah, exactly. Lane Kiffin is the son of Monte Kiffin.
Surely you're joking.
Who was born, and he was born on May 9th, 1975 in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
He grew up in a football-centric family, being the son of Monte Kiffin.
Okay.
Andi, do you know who Monte Kiffin is?
No, but the name Monte sounds like a cartoon banker.
Yeah. He's a well-respected defensive coach known for his innovative defensive schemes, particularly the Tampa 2 defense. The Tampa 2 was what his dad implied, in Tampa Bay to win a Super Bowl with like Warren Sapp and all these crazy defensive
I've heard
teams.
of Warren Sapp.
Yeah. The Tampa 2, I looked up because I was confused. I've seen it in Madden a million times as a play, but it's basically just a modification of the cover 2, which is a zone defense in football. So guys are covering areas, not men.
I see.
Similar to basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually way more complicated in football, as you can imagine.
Yes.
With like a receiver running across the field, getting picked up by like 5 different guys as he goes across in a zone, being watched because everyone's guarding like an area, not like a guy. They're just kind of keeping an eye on it. When they see the ball, they go.
Is that more effective than like man on man?
Yeah, it can be, because nobody knows you as well as you, but nobody knows where you're going to be as a defense compared to if you're just guarding one guy.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway, he innovated in football on defense specifically. Monte Kiffin had a long and successful coaching career, including stints in college football and the NFL. And he was particularly notable as the D coordinator for Tampa when they won the Super Bowl in 2002. So
I know you meant defensive coordinator, but D coordinator, I was like, oh, he just comes in and de-coordinates everything. He just institutes chaos.
The D-coordinator. Oh, no, yeah, defensive coordinator. Lane's exposure to football from a young age came from his father then, obviously. And it deeply shaped his understanding of the game and his future coaching philosophy. Growing up, Lane was surrounded by football talk, strategies, and the pressures of coaching, which definitely influenced him to pursue coaching himself.
Sure.
Because of his dad. So the first clip I'm going to play you is from this podcast called the John Gordon Podcast. And I found an interview that he did with Lane Kiffin. He reflects on a lot of the things from his career in this interview. So you get kind of a reflective Lane who has changed a lot.
Okay. Reflection and change. Noted.
So here's the first interview clip from the John Gordon Podcast. And that's what these clips will be from.
Wasn't somebody in NASCAR named John Gordon?
Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
Introducing the intense flavor of Fritos Racers, shaped like Jeff Gordon's race car with a crunch just as loud.
You know, I was always around with my father, and I was a ball boy, and I was sitting in meetings, you know, when I was 10, 12 years old. I was just always intrigued as I got older by watching the games and seeing that someone not playing the game could have such an impact on the game of winning and losing based off of decision making based off of game planning and game management.
He played backup quarterback at Fresno State, played there from 94 to 96. And then in 97, he transitioned into coaching.
We all want to play in NFL. By not doing that, I started my coaching career sooner than most people do because they usually bounce around and, tryouts, maybe go play in the CFL and do all those things. So what I thought at the time was, man, I wish I was playing more in college and going to the NFL. I joke nowadays with all the concussion things and everything from players that played. It was a good thing that I was a bad player because I have no concussion problems.
Sad and dark, but serious.
It's dark, but it's real.
Yeah. In 1999, Kiffin joined Colorado State as a graduate assistant, working under Sonny Lubick. These football names are sometimes great.
Yeah,
like baseball.
they are.
Kiffin is hired in 2000 as the tight ends coach at the University of Southern California, USC. This was sort of his first big job, sort of on a college campus. From 2001 to 2006, Kiffin became a key assistant coach at USC under head coach Pete Carroll.
Oh,
yeah.
that name.
Carroll was at USC before being in Seattle for a long time.
Yes.
And he was the wide receivers coach there with Pete Carroll, a passing game coordinator, and eventually the offensive coordinator running the whole offense.
Wow. And Pete Carroll's still coaching
Pete Carroll
or no?
Was let go by the Seahawks last year.
Oh, last year.
Or like very recently.
Okay.
But he's in his 70s. He's old.
Yeah, but what I've learned about the NFL in recent years is that if you can retire, you can leave, you can be old, but if they need you, you're coming back.
You're coming back. Yep. So a big part of being an assistant under the head coach is you prove your worth by like your recruiting abilities. You're helping that head coach go to track down people.
Yeah.
You're an assistant, so you're like a representative for recruiting too. So you start to learn how to recruit as an assistant. Him and Ed Ogeron, who's like a very flamboyant, crazy coach from LSU and other teams, both started here as assistants, and they had to recruit Tim Tebow, who was highly recruited in Florida, where he ended up playing.
Okay.
So this is just that story, and this is from Dan Patrick.
I was an assistant. I was a recruiting coordinator for Pete Carroll, so I would plan the trips where we were going to go, and had the top recruits in around the country that I had to go recruit. And so Tim Tebow, I was on Tebow, and I was kind of like, I used to think we could sign everybody, no matter what. So me and Ogeron always said that we'll go get him no matter what, coach. So I go down there, see Tebow, then so I fly coach across the country. We get there, we start driving. He's like, where are we? Like, we're in the middle of nowhere out in Jacksonville. He's like, why is this kid going to come to USC? I'm like, coach, we're going to get him. We're going to get him. And we pull up to the farm that they live on, and there's a Florida Gator mailbox. Used to walk in, there's a Florida Gator map right there. And turns to me, he's like, why are you wasting my time right now? He goes, oh, that was a really enjoyable 4 hours. So where's the next quarterback we're going to go try to get?
Oh, God. Did you think you had a chance?
I did. He came out for official visit. I think we beat UCLA that day or something in a big win, and took him out that night to the beach to dinner. And I used to kind of think we were going to get everybody. So maybe Tim says we came in second place, so that counts.
He probably tells everybody that. I just love that the mailbox is Gators, the mat is Gators.
They're driving up. They're like, our job is to. Honestly, it kind of feels like you're like pamphleting for the wrong political party.
Yes.
And you're in for whatever is at that door.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is about the Dan Patrick Show. There are so many sports podcasts in particular that look like a NASA command center.
They really do. It's like either a NASA command center or like a trading floor.
Yeah. Like there's so many. There's all these people at desks that never speak. And I'm like, what are they doing?
What are they doing? Are they launching the rocket right now?
Like, what's happening? Are they air traffic control?
Yeah.
Like, why are there so many desks?
No, they're just on ESPN.
Okay. Got it. That's a funny story of like you walk in, like I bet you at least one person in the family, possibly multiple, were wearing like Gators gear as well.
To really like hammer it home.
Yeah.
So in 2007, Kiffin was hired by the Oakland Raiders to become the youngest NFL head coach at the time.
Wow.
At 31.
Wow.
So Kiffin was hired by Al Davis. The sort of Jerry Jones precursor, but like about the same age.
Jerry Jones getting the like Sandy and Grease treatment where he's got like the leather jacket.
Exactly. Yes, you got it.
She's like, wearing like poodle skirts and like her hair's all like nice and neat, very demure. And then at the end of the movie, she shows up and she's like, "Tell me about it, stud." And she's got leather pants and red lipstick.
Okay, so that's Al Davis.
Yes, I guess.
A sort of Breakfast Club bad guy.
Yes.
Yeah, leather jacket.
Yes, Judd Nelson.
I'm rich, but I could also be seen in a bowling alley.
Yeah.
And fit right in. Yeah. So Kiffin was hired by Al Davis, that guy, to be the youngest head coach at 31. And here's a little video of Kiffin showing up, like in Oakland, I guess. And I guess this is just like his PR team made him do this, but he had to be on this like Raiders podcast, like fan podcast. And because we've talked about Raiders fans before, I just wanted to kind of like call back to that.
Come on over here, coach. Come on over here, coach. All right, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're here today to welcome in Coach Kiffin and the staff for your 2007 Oakland Raiders to kick off the season. Let's hear it for them now. This is the first of its kind, young and hungry promotional day with this new attitude. Go Raiders, baby! Coach, thank you so much. No problem. Thank you so much, Coach.
Guy walks by in like a spiky outfit.
Honestly, thank you. Hey, guys, on behalf of the whole staff here, okay, I've heard nothing but unbelievable things about you guys. I just want to thank you guys from everybody here for what you guys bring all the time. We got to get our players to have as much energy as you guys have when we can. Yeah! That's right! And by the way, shirt right here. We got each one of you a shirt right here, so I don't know who to give the box to. The box is right behind you. Okay. So we hope you guys work with pride on the practice field whenever you can. Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
I love that there's a guy dressed up like he's one of the members of GWAR.
Yes. I was just going to say something clicked for me here. The Raiders fans are the January 6th shaman that we need. So
you better explain yourself.
Okay, so the Raiders fans dress up and they're passionate about something, but it's good stuff. It's a football team.
Yes.
The January 6th shaman dresses similarly for nefarious reasons.
For nefarious reasons. I like that he indulged the fans because he probably knew, like, if I don't get in good with the fans, like, I'm toast.
Yeah.
Because Raiders
but
fans
it was
are
also
very
awkward.
passionate. It was awkward. I love the lead fan was like, who do we give the box of T-shirts?
Yeah. Which one of you guys is like a T-shirt guy? But pretty quickly, Kiffin starts kind of rocking the boat with the Raiders, being a young, new coach. And he starts sort of talking shit about the decisions made by Al Davis and the Raiders front office.
Whoops. How are the Raiders doing at this point? Was it like...
Not well.
Okay.
Not very well, no.
So he probably came in and was like, felt the need to like prove himself by like shaking things up so that they could start winning.
Yeah. So he's young. He has lots of opinions. He really doesn't like Jamarcus Russell. That's kind of one of the first things. And Jamarcus Russell is a quarterback that they really liked and drafted right away when he came in. So now he's tied to this quarterback from LSU that he doesn't even really want for his system. And Al Davis is like, no, this is our guy. We like him.
Yeah.
And Lane was right, turns out. Jamarcus Russell was a total bomb out of a quarterback. But he didn't know that at the time, but like he had his thoughts.
I said, okay, what's the biggest job, most money, and the fastest that I can get it? I remember being in Oakland and I wrote up in the corner of the board in my office, Coach Raiders, I wrote 99, and a buddy came and said, well, was I either, I don't know, I just wrote 99 million. I want to see how fast I can get to 99 million. And I thought, how stupid is that? I said, well, what is that going to do? You know, and so I've just changed completely on this thing, and money's a big part of that too. I think I've joked with you before, money's the root of all evil, then why are we chasing it so much? So, like, people don't buy this when I say it because they say, oh no, but I really don't think a lot of money makes people happy.
Okay, Socialist Lane.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, he was reflecting now, but as he mentioned at the start of that clip, he was the type of guy here that would just like write numbers on a blackboard and be like, I'm going to earn that.
I mean, he seems like the lead in like a wholesome family Christmas movie about like the dad who just wants to make more money. And then he learns that like money doesn't make you happy. Family and the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of spirit of Christmas going on. Now it's 2008 and it's January. And an ESPN story breaks and I'm going to have you read it. And this is written by Chris Mortensen, who broke a lot of news in his day for ESPN.
Raiders coach refuses to heed Davis's call to resign. Oakland Raiders owner Al Davis has been pushing for coach Lane Kiffin to resign and is considering Dennis Green as a potential replacement, sources close to Kiffin and the team said. Davis has gone so far as to draft a letter of resignation for Kiffin to sign, a source said. Kiffin has refused to do so, but has dared Davis to fire him instead. The letter, the source said, was sent to Kiffin 2 weeks ago. Kiffin, who is 4-12, in his first season as coach, has 2 years remaining on his contract at an estimated $2 million per year. In the letter sent to Kiffin's legal representatives, Davis stated that only he would have control over his staff and full personnel decisions, sources said. According to a source close to Kiffin, Davis had promised Kiffin when he hired him that he would have more control over staff and personnel matters than recent Raiders coaches. Kiffin was allowed 5 offensive assistants and to name his own staff when he took the job after the 2006 season. Quote, "I'm not going to comment on anything that has transpired in the past 3 weeks," Kiffin said from Mobile, Alabama, where he and the Raiders staff are coaching the North team in the Under Armour Senior Bowl College All-Star Game.
What a mouthful.
Okay. According to John Herrera, senior executive of the Raiders, quote, "It's a non-issue. It hasn't been an issue, and Dennis Green has already debunked the report," he told Bay Area reporters.
Okay. So there's drama boiling.
Yeah, and it seems very similar to like the Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson drama, in that like it's all about control and power and who gets to make the decisions about who's doing what and when.
And therefore who will get the reward if it goes well.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much.
Instead of just doing the best thing.
I feel like every other episode we're dealing with like 2 guys who just want to have credit for all the good stuff and not be seen as like the reason why any of the bad stuff happened.
Yeah, that's life for these guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so that's bubbling.
Mm-hmm.
And in August, here's just an example of some of the Lane Kiffin press barrage that he does after this. After he realizes it's kind of heating up, he just keeps talking shit in the press about Al Davis and the Raiders, kind of being like, "Hey, this guy is full of shit. He's like a loser. Like they're not a good team," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is just an example from the Sacramento Bee in August of 2008.
Kiffin's candor could cost him job. Lane Kiffin has no problem taking jabs at Al Davis publicly since training camp started. He rips the roster Davis ultimately decides on and makes it known the weird things that make the Raiders have nothing to do with him. Okay. If this keeps up, you have to wonder if Davis would take Kiffin's words, assign, quote, conduct detrimental to the team to them, and use it as a reason to fire and not have to pay the coach he wanted to force to resign. Wide receivers coach James Lofton and defensive coordinator Rob Ryan interviewed for the head coaching job last year and could step in immediately. Offensive coordinator Greg Knapp has also been looked at by Davis as a potential head coach. But for now, the Raiders have the candid Kiffin. Kiffin is no dummy. He knows what he says has to irk a lot of people at team headquarters, even if what he's saying is true. But the honesty is refreshing. Too many Raider coaches stuck with players who had no business in the NFL and said nothing. They played and even started those guys. Kiffin is in the same situation, except he's speaking his mind. We'll have to wait and see if Davis responds in his own way.
So thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts are like, get a like freaking LCSW therapist mediator and sit down and like hash it out.
Yeah.
I can't, there's so many of these stories of like men in sports who like have all of their drama like aired out in the press. And I'm like, are you talking to each other?
Yeah, there's no way. So 1 month later in September, this story runs in the AP.
After winning only 5 of 20 games, Lane Kiffin is out as Oakland Raiders coach.
No.
The Raiders say the move was made for cause, meaning they will likely try not to pay Kiffin for the remainder of his contract.
Yikes.
Hired in January 2007 at the age of 31, Kiffin became the youngest head coach in modern NFL history. In his first year on the job, the Raiders finished 4-12. This season, the Silver and Black has gone 1-3, including back-to-back losses that saw them blow fourth-quarter leads. 2 weeks ago at Buffalo, the Raiders led by 9, only to lose 24-23. Sunday at home against San Diego, Oakland led the Chargers 15-3 after 3 quarters, but gave up 25 points in the final period to lose 28-18. Kiffin had frequently criticized Al Davis's franchise as well as the team's performance on the field. Those critiques reached a peak when, after a blowout loss to Denver in the season opener, Kiffin distanced himself from the defense, saying that was under the control of coordinator Rob Ryan and Davis. But a lack of offense can also be blamed for the team's struggles. One telling stat, quarterback Jamarcus Russell has been sacked nearly as many times as he's completed a pass on third down. Russell is 8 for 25 for 127 yards on third downs, getting sacked 6 times. John Klobuchar, The Associated Press.
I have a few points to make. First one, Al Davis. We know that your hair is not that color. You can stop dyeing it.
He's dead.
Okay, well, I hope this reaches him in the grave. Feel comfortable with your natural gray hair and leather jackets. Anyway, I've said this before on the podcast, but like, he coached for 1 year. Give him a fucking break. The team wasn't good. Yeah. You're not going to turn it around in a year.
Also, I liked what that blog said, that Al Davis, similar to Jerry Jones, they're the reason their teams are bad.
Yeah.
By the way, because they don't actually know football and they come and weigh in on things, and the football guys, they run out of the room because they think they know more than them.
Yeah.
So
it does seem like a case of that, of like, they brought this guy in. He tried to make his own decisions. They promised him that he could make some of his own decisions. And then they were like, no, that was...
Yeah, Al doesn't actually think that.
No, we said that, but like, we don't mean it. And yeah, you can't turn a whole team around in a year. Some of the teams have to be the bad teams.
Yeah, for a while.
One team wins the Super Bowl. Some teams are good enough to win the Super Bowl but didn't. And then the rest of them are bad. That's how it works.
Okay, so always a drama king, Al Davis. He doesn't just let this go. He doesn't just let that AP story be the AP story that like, Al Lane Kiffin got fired today and we're moving on. He held a press conference.
Oh my God.
Without the support of Raiders execs. And I made an edit of it because the actual Al Davis press conference is over an hour long. He wrestles with a projector screen the whole time. And I'm going to show you my edit of it.
Okay.
And this is the press conference to prove to the world as to why he's firing Lane without paying him. Basically, this is what Lane did to this organization, so he doesn't deserve pay, and I'm going to do it publicly so that I like change the narrative.
Okay.
I did a bunch of speed ups because he's such a slow talker.
It was January of 2007 when I was excited about the naming of a new head coach of the Raiders, a young guy who I thought was dynamic. I thought could carry the flag, carry the torch of the Raiders, because I wanted to get young people into the organization. And we had our meeting here, I think it was in this room, and his family, I knew them. His family, I knew him for about 30 years. His father once applied for a job with us when we were in Los Angeles. That's Monte Kiffin. I knew the father of Lane's wife, and we were excited, and I was excited. I knew it was a bold attempt, calculated, but I'd always had a great success, or at least I thought I did with young people. And even those that didn't stay with me long, I knew were qualified in quality, and sometimes things just don't work out. It was after a short period of time that I realized I didn't hire the person I thought I was hiring. And there are reasons, which I could go into, but I thought what I would do is bring you up to the period of time right now when this morning I called Lane and told him that he no longer is the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, and I'm dismissing him with cause. It was after his false accusations on a Wednesday night about the defense belonging to Al Davis and attacking Rob Ryan publicly, which was unfair, unheard of in professional football, that the head coach would attack one of his assistants. But I sent him a letter. I gave it to him, actually, on the Friday before we went to Kansas City, and Federal expressed that letter to him.
Didn't have a conversation.
I'd like to have John put up the first page of the letter.
Oh, my God.
And if you'll bear with me, it's about 3 pages.
Oh, my God.
Camera zooms out slowly as they realize.
Over the past months, you have made a number of public statements.
You can't see anything.
It's not on the screen.
It's there, but you can't see it because remember those projectors when the lights were too bright? You couldn't see them.
The implication when you were doing these things in the hopes that would you cease your immature...
Don't worry, he's going to read it as well.
I wanted to make this work. I really did. I thought we had a chance. We had some great new young players. However, you continue to make public statements that are critical of the organizations, its players as a whole, as well as individual players. Such statements constitute conduct detrimental to the Raiders, and I still wish to no longer stand silently by, while you continue to hurt this organization. Can you see the letter up there? Sure.
No.
I realized when I hired you that you were young.
Nobody said anything.
It would be a learning process for you. Your mistakes on player personnel and coaches were overlooked based on our patience with you. But I never dreamt that you would be untruthful in attempts and in statements in the press, as well as so many other issues. Your actions are those of a coach looking to make excuses for not winning rather than a coach focused on winning. Let's go to the second page. I realize that you did not want to draft Marcus Russell. He is a great player. Get over it. Now, in the past 2 years, he's called every play on offense. But this past week, he split it with another coach. And that's the reason maybe that the ball went up a little bit. But he has called, no one has bothered him. No one has interfered with him. He was hired to coach the team. Any other accusations, any other step out of line, I'm going to fire you for cause. The first question he asked me when I said you're going to be fired or you're being relieved for cause, are you going to pay me?
Of course you're going to ask for your money if someone's trying to fire you.
Yeah, of course.
They have to pay you
Yeah,
your
because they
contract.
fired you. Yeah. Yeah, and like Al Davis being like, can you believe that the first thing he asked me if he was going to get paid, like he should care more about football than the money. It's like,
not in this
oh my
situation.
God, not in this situation.
You idiot.
Oh my God. When he asked, like, can everybody see it? And everyone just stayed silent.
No one says anything. He asked like 10 times throughout the actual hour.
He seems like the kind of guy who's like scary and intimidating to work for. So there were probably people that were like, I could go over and like switch the lights, but he's going to get mad because then he can't read his paper.
yes. That's so good. So anyway, this all goes down and Lanes continues to talk shit after he's fired because obviously. And then there's a news story where Davis like claps back again, being like, I did fire him for cause. He keeps saying for cause because he doesn't want to pay him.
This is such Kendall Roy from Succession behavior to be like, his people said to him, like, do not do this press conference. And he was like, I'm going to do it anyway.
I think it's going to be good.
I think it's going to be good. He's also the kind of person, I understand the impulse of like, if everybody had all the information, they would take my side. And it's like, you have to consider the fact that like when everybody has all the information, you might just look bad and crazy.
So here is former Raiders CEO Amy Trask on Rich Eisen with Rich Eisen's wife, who sometimes hosts the show.
Nice.
And this is her telling the story of that day.
I knew Al wanted to fire Lane. The argument I was having with him leading up to the termination was severalfold. Number one, I raised the and do what? If you're going to terminate a coach, you better be able to answer and do what? And the answer that you have needs to be at least as good as the status quo, if not better. Otherwise, what the heck are you doing? And he did have a plan in place that he believed was better than the status quo. By the way, I'm pretty sure Al would have thought me coaching the team was better than the status quo. He just was done and he wanted to terminate Lane. My issue with him once he made that clear was, then do it, just do it the right way, do it calmly, do it. You know, someone once told me, if you're going to terminate someone, just do it and then be done. Don't make a whoop-de-doo out of it. Well, we went back and forth and argued. So he goes to have a press conference to fire Lane.
Oh, my God.
And I was so angry with him, and we were at each other's throats, that I behaved rather childishly. I refused to go to the press conference. So I sat upstairs in my office with two other staff members, and we turned on the TV in my office to watch the press conference. Press conference starts, and the first thing I say is, oh, my God, they didn't even put our backdrop down. We had a backdrop with sponsors on it, and we were contractually obligated to use the backdrop for press conferences. So now I'm huffing and huffing and puffing that he's having this damn press conference, and he didn't even pull down the backdrop, so now the sponsor's going to be angry. And as I'm staring at it, I realize, oh, the backdrop's there. That's a screen in front of the backdrop. Why is there a screen? And the camera pulls back, and I see the overhead projector. I didn't even know we had an overhead projector. Well, he goes on to have the press conference, and we're just sitting in my office. I'm there. These two other, employees, two of my fellow employees, staff were there, and the three of us are just staring at the television, speechless. After the press conference, all hell breaks loose. And I'm not just talking about the media coverage. Sponsors are calling, advertisers are calling, season ticket holders are calling, fans are calling. Our customer service department has to be prepared to answer all the calls.
Oh, no.
Our sponsorship and advertising and PR and every department is getting pummeled with calls. And we have to be prepared. And so I gathered a staff meeting. We had a staff meeting. The next 3 days were crazy. things start, calming down a little bit. I don't remember whether it was 3 days later, 4 days later, and we can finally take a breath. And I said to my husband, I am going to go into the office and I am going to find that overhead projector and I am going to get an axe.
Yes.
And I am going to smash it and break it into millions of little pieces. I'm going to smash it to smithereens. And my husband just looks at me and says, oh no, that baby's going to Canton. And I laughed. And it was the first time I laughed after that press conference.
Oh my God. Okay, what's this about Canton?
The joke was the projector is going into the NFL Hall of Fame
in
Canton, Ohio.
Okay, I love her.
Loved her too.
I love her. Women are better than men. I'm sorry. I just she told him. She told him. She was
exactly
like, don't do this. You're going to look like a fool. And then, of course, like, leave it to her to be like, the fucking sponsors are going to get pissed because we're supposed to have the backdrop. Like, oh my God. This reminds me so much of my time in like arts administration, especially the part where she was, and like, God bless her for like saying like that the customer service reps were getting pummeled.
He considered how like he would look.
Yes.
But he didn't consider how it affects every person that works for him.
You are making everybody's lives a nightmare. Everyone's lives an actual nightmare. Can you imagine being a customer service rep and having to answer the phone being like, I'm sorry, you think I'm the person who has any effect on what Al Davis is doing? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
She should have been the coach.
Seriously.
I mean, she should have owned the team.
Well, it definitely, your ego gets in the way. What's good is bad and what's bad is good. It's good to have success and be around, we had 3 Heisman winners in 4 years at USC and break all these records and then, get to be the youngest head coach in the NFL. All that stuff is good and bad. It's good, and you get these big contracts, all these things, and then it's bad if you're not really totally prepared to handle that and not let your ego get in the way and just stay the exact same way you were that was getting you to that point. And so when I look back to being 25, 30 years old, and I think, I'm going to sound old now. I think old people say this. I really didn't know anything. I thought I knew everything, and I didn't know anything now that I look at it. If there's 10 situations how you handle them today versus then, 9 out of 10 would be different. So I think that's one of those blessings, too, that it happened at an early age versus some people start getting it at a later age, and maybe they're still not ready to handle it, but then they look about, okay, well, now it's happening to me, and I'm 40, 50 years old. Now what do? I got to screw up young.
I don't want to be held responsible for the stuff that I did when I was 25. I'll tell you that right now.
To that. How he said 9 out of 10 things I would have done different.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
It's true.
So in 2009, Lane Kiffin is out with the Raiders, but quickly picked up by another college team. And that is University of Tennessee.
Okay.
The Vols. Huge football school. One of the SEC schools that everyone worships football in that area, and so he's entering himself right into the fray of like the most heated football fans. In America.
The SEC is like pretty intense as far as I understand.
And he wouldn't do it without a little bit of drama. As he started to hire his staff at Tennessee, he ended up poaching some Raiders coaches from his last job.
Oh my God.
This is on Wikipedia. Several of his former Raiders staff expressed interest as Kiffin began assembling his new staff at the University of Tennessee. On December 15th, 2008, Raiders head coach Cable lashed out at Kiffin for hiring one of his assistants, James Craig, with 2 weeks remaining in the NFL season. Cable called the timing of Craig's departure wrong in the business of coaching and indicated he had lost respect for Kiffin and planned to confront him. Nothing further was said.
I mean, it kind of speaks volumes that people who were working for the Raiders wanted to go where Lane Kiffin was and leave the NFL. College football, especially the SEC, is huge. So it's not like it's like, a downward move necessarily to leave the NFL and go to like one of the most heated conferences in college football. But I can kind of imagine that they were all like, can you please get me out of here? Like, it's very...
We'll go with.
Yeah.
I don't like Al.
I don't like Al. He just keeps barging in his leather jacket and like yelling and, trying to put stuff up on the overhead projector.
He says we need an ashtray in every office. We don't smoke in here. Okay. So one of the other people that he hired was his dad.
we're going to get good coaches right now. I get fired up about that now.
Oh.
You come here as a player, you'll be coached. However good you are, and all due respect to every other school in this conference, anywhere in the country, there are a lot of good coaches. You'll be well coached there. I'll tell you what, and I'm not going to say any better. You can't go wrong come to Tennessee. I'm telling you what. Went out to eat at this restaurant. We got to get the car to leave, and I just kind of used to. We had another person drive. One of the other coaches was driving us around, like he was Lane's driver or whatever. And I just jumped in the front seat up there. Pretty soon, I look back and Lane goes, "Oh, I didn't know the head coach had to sit in the back seat, So I kind of got a feel right there, So I kind of been cramping in the back here lately. So
I don't know what he's talking.
He's basically saying that he's just talking about.
No, I mean, I do. He's just...
His son is the head coach now, and the head coach gets to sit in the front. And because his dad did all this. And now he's like doing it, but with his son leading him, which is a funny thing.
What did he hire his dad to do exactly?
Defensive coordinator like he did.
Oh, okay.
Tampa.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I wonder if his dad was just like, I'm going crazy in retirement. Like, please give me a job.
Yeah.
I mean, seems like a very sweet, very enigmatic guy.
A gym teacher, that kind of intensity.
Yes, very gym teacher, 100%.
But he was always about relationships with the players and building, and that's what Lane kind of took, I think. Mm-hmm. So 2009, there's another piece of drama in Lane's story. On February 5th, 2009, during a Tennessee booster breakfast at the Knoxville Convention Center, Lane was sort of firing from the hip, trying to fire up the room, and sort of slandered head coach of Florida at the time, Urban Meyer, who we're going to do an Urban episode because he's maybe more dramatic than Lane.
He's also
he's a worse
horrible person.
Such a bad dude. You'll be familiar with Urban Meyer's Chop House.
Yes.
Where he had a bar restaurant that he owned back in Ohio on campus when he was Ohio State's coach. He became popular there, and so he has a bar restaurant that he would then go back to and hit on college girls at. Mm-hmm. Real creepy.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll cover that in detail.
We had a great plan there of how to steer Florida away from this guy, so they thought we weren't getting him. He came out in the paper that Friday and said he wasn't even coming to visit us. So that what would happen is the people down there, the pressure would stay off him. They wouldn't go try to get him. They think that they still have him. And this is a recruiting violation. I'm going to turn Florida in right here in front of you. But as Nukes was here on our campus, his phone keeps ringing. And so one of our coaches is sitting in the meeting with him. He says, "Who's that?" And he looks at the phone and says, "Urban Meyer." Okay? Just so you know, when a recruit's on another campus, you can't call a recruit on another campus. But I love the fact that Urban had to cheat and still didn't get him. A great job by him.
So I think there was some gray areas with the rules, and he ended up being not totally correct and had to kind of walk it back. But the fact that he said it.
You're not allowed to call a recruit when they're visiting another campus. How would you know that they're visiting another campus?
I think that may be where there was some gray area of whatever. But he was just, stirring the pot.
Yeah.
And sort of fanning flames.
Lane, I appreciate your candor. I really do. But you need to shut your mouth a little bit sometimes.
In this phase, he's really shooting from the hip.
If the common element in all of the dramatic parts of your life is you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all fine and good. He's at Tennessee. Mm-hmm. 1 year into his Tennessee tenure, his tennis senior, Kiffin leaves Tennessee when the head coaching job at USC opens up. His former place where he used to assistant coach.
Right.
So he'd been there for 6 or 7 years. He really loves California. This opportunity opens up after 1 year in Tennessee, and he takes it.
Does he take his dad with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. So the fan reaction after Kiffin left Tennessee was insane. Definitely more violent than LeBron leaving Cleveland.
Really?
I'm telling you, SEC football fans, man, they're intense.
Yeah.
Here's the campus that night. It's kind of scary. It reminds me a little bit of a Klan rally.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, they're singing Rocky Top. Why is there fire? No, why does someone have a torch?
They're climbing the statues on campus, singing Rocky Top, burning torches.
I don't like this. This is very violent looking. This is a college campus?
Yeah, this is UT.
Yikes.
There's a big rock that says "Fuck Lane Kiffin."
Oh my God.
Like they graffitied everything on campus. Okay, that's just part of this. We're going to go down a rabbit hole here.
Okay.
Here is a reaction from Big Vol Daddy, who's like a YouTuber and super Vols fan, football fan.
A good friend of mine's dad told me last summer that Lane Kiffin would not be at UT more than a year. I told him he was crazy. Oh my God.
I'm with Bill for Vols. I'm a Vol fan. I've been a Vol...
He's chain smoking.
In the middle of smoking.
I've been a Vol fan all my life. I'm going to continue being a Vol fan till the day I fucking die. Lane Kiffin, you lying ass motherfucker. You sucked us all in. You had us believing. And it looks like Al Davis was right all along.
Oh, no.
You know, the one thing that Al Davis emphasized about you is that you were a fucking liar. And, you know, part of me says I don't really blame you. You know, you're a California boy. You know, you're a fucking dickhead evidently. Raw emotion right here, man. Raw emotion. I don't know about setting our program back years, like Bill Ferval says.
It's another YouTuber.
At least this didn't happen 2 or 3 years in. You know, at least he decided to be a fucking crotch rocket. At least he decided to be a crotch rider early.
The video is going like back and forth because he's like switching from foot to foot.
Yeah.
Like
he's like, I kind of get it, and I like, because he clearly likes Lane when he was hired, and now he feels betrayed.
He's just pacing around his room, surrounded by like all the flags of the teams that. Oh my God.
Here's another shot of campus that night as this guy's yelling into his computer screen.
Warning: graphic language.
Al Davis was actually right. I can't believe Al Davis was actually right. I mean, our recruiting class is down the drain. We don't have nothing. This is bad. Look, as UT students, we're all in this together, and we are mad together, and we will win, we will lose together. But Lane Kiffin people will not, and that's wrong.
This is how mature people act when their football coach leaves.
Self-aware guy.
Oh my God.
You know what the plan is? The plan is no one go to class. No one go to class. We want to go in there. We'll be wildly immature about this. And we possibly can. You know, like dance off.
Okay, I'm okay with the self-aware guys who are poking fun at it. At least they're not carrying torches.
Yeah. Okay, one more thing. Sorry.
Okay, go for it.
This is back to Big Vol Daddy.
Okay.
He's progressed.
He's still spiraling.
Lane Kiffin.
Oh my God.
It's time. Yeah, it's time.
Staring out the window.
I got something for you, Lane Kiffin.
He's holding a Lane Kiffin shirt.
Be a pretty Tennessee shirt.
Oh no.
But it's got Lane Kiffin on it. It's time.
Oh no. Is he gonna burn it?
Worse.
Is he gonna pee on it? Oh no. No.
Piss on you, Lane Kiffin. You sorry piece of shit.
Oh no. Oh, I'm so surprised that hasn't been taken down. Ugh. Oh, Lord.
You don't actually see him pissing, but you definitely see the piss.
Yeah, and you hear it. As soon as you said worse, I was like, oh, no. It's either number 1 or number 2. I hope to God it's number 1.
Oh, no. And then this is the final little news story to put a cap on this moment.
Tuesday night, UT students spray painted the name Lane on the campus rock, along with a variety of other four-letter words.
It's all blurred out.
The head football coach who announced he will vacate the Vols after just 1 season.
Well, I think it's pretty messed up. I mean, it was no point of him coming here.
And you name your firstborn son Knox?
We really hate Lane Kiffin.
Students tried to make their way into the press conference, but were asked to leave the building.
We just really wanted to see Lane Kiffin and really just let him know how we feel. And let them know that, this decision affects people, how betrayed we feel.
Meanwhile, the news of Kiffin's resignation made its way across campus and ignited a frenzy among hundreds of angry students.
Ugh, there's too much fire.
A mattress and a trash can outside the athletic center where Kiffin held his press conference.
Whose mattress? mattress was that?
Made a final stop at Neyland Stadium. Some students knocked over a chain link construction fence while a few others attempted to climb inside the stadium. Police eventually cleared the crowd, shut down the road, and students left the scene without any more incidents.
I am speechless. That's like scary. Like if I were on that campus, I would be hiding in, I don't know if they have a theater department there, but I would be hiding in the black box theater.
Okay. So this progresses in Lane's, at USC. And he does a Q&A with ESPN I'll have you read, where he continues to rip the Raiders in the press, which is great.
Can I just comment? Like, I understand why they're all pissed because, like, this guy did make a lot of promises. He trotted his dad out.
He named his firstborn son Knox, which is Knoxville is the city that they're in.
And that poor kid.
Yeah.
Like, now for the rest of his life,
He's
like,
tied to Knoxville. Yeah.
Yikes. Like he made a whole big show of it. I understand like jobs come up when they come up and like he couldn't have necessarily predicted this. So I understand why they're mad. But again, I've said this on the podcast before, sports fans, just take a breath. These are people's jobs. People move around jobs. It's not great. It doesn't look great, but like they personally don't know you and are not trying to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, they're just taking a job. So this is a little article from ESPN in 2011. Lane's with USC being interviewed, about the new job.
Mm-hmm. In retrospect, was going to Oakland an unwinnable situation? It's almost impossible. I don't know why I didn't listen because so many people told me that. That's why, if you ask Steven Sarkisian, he didn't go. He had a chance to go. You're just so far behind other clubs. You're waiting for owner Al Davis to wake up and come to work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to make decisions that the rest of the league is making at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're still running videotapes over to the hotel so he can watch practice at night. The overhead projector Al Davis used during the news conference he held after your firing seems like the kind of metaphor for how he runs the Raiders. Would you agree? Yeah, it was. It was sad, really, to see somebody who's accomplished so much in his career and been such a powerful figure in the NFL. To see that was actually pretty sad to watch. But you're exactly right. An overhead projector, that describes the pace that you're dealing with of the way an organization is being run. I mean,
so good.
He's old. Al Davis is old. I mean, this goes along with the comment about him dyeing his hair I made at the beginning. He's at this point, was holding on for dear life to something that, like, maybe just retire. Maybe you can sleep till 2 p.m. if you're not in charge of an NFL team.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
So in 2012, USC, under Kiffin's leadership, starts the season ranked number 1, but they ended with a disappointing 7-6 record. They were the first team ranked preseason number 1 to ever finish that bad.
Yikes.
So pretty historically underperforming in his first year. But again, first years, or first or second years, like it's really hard to turn these programs around. This was before NIL too. So you're actually having to recruit the whole class. So these aren't your guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's going to take 4 years to get your guys into the system.
And like transfer portal wasn't a thing.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Oh, that's what you meant when you said NIL wasn't great. Thank you. Sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah, like give the guy a break. It's 1 year.
So Lane's at USC from 2010 until 2013 when, after a 3-2 start, Lane Kiffin gets fired from USC.
Oh my God.
And the way they did it was on the tarmac after a loss to Arizona State.
Oh my God.
And he recounted that experience again with Dan Patrick.
Because you got fired on the tarmac at USC by Pat Hayden.
Yes.
Is that how it, so the plane land? Explain that to me.
Well, I guess in theory it wasn't on the tarmac. When the plane landed, I got on the bus because it was like 4 a.m. and I was going back to the office because it was so late. I know you used to going home, go back to the office, sleep for a couple hours, and get ready, to get on the next week game plan. And then the assistant athletic, J.K. McCabe, stopped the bus, pulled me off the bus, as we were leaving the airport, and then brought me into, the private airport right there, into one of the little conference rooms, and there I was fired. So in theory, it wasn't on the tarmac.
Wait, so how did you get home?
Someone drove me home. I can't remember, one of the workers there or something like that gave me a ride home.
But why? I still never understood that they, like, couldn't they wait? Like, did you have to be fired at 4 a.m. in the morning when they take you off a bus?
I mean, I guess they were so excited about, not excited, that's not the right word, but they were so, no, that wasn't the right word. Not about getting rid of me. Like, they just wanted to get the whole thing over with. So, they had the press conference the next morning with Ed Ogeron, to announce him as interim head coach. So
I also saw a report.
There was such a rush because I think we had a bye the next week. So I don't really understand why it was such a rush.
Bruce Feldman told a story that Ed Ogeron didn't get the full-time job or didn't get considered for long-term because his voice bothered some people in the athletic department at USC. Did you ever hear that?
I could see that happening at USC,
yeah. I mean, Dan Patrick should know more about tarmac experiences because he runs a flight center.
Seriously. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one of those guys, Seton, or I used to watch this show, is actually on a flight simulator at his desk.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I'm currently over San Francisco in a Boeing.
I have to say, the overall don't give a shit attitude in professional sports when it comes to how men in positions of power treat other men in positions of power is insane to me. If you were to fire someone like that in any other industry, you would get in so much fucking trouble.
Yeah. So Lane appeared on College Game Day instantly right after he got fired from USC, which was just kind of a funny thing because this was the biggest story, and then Lane just shows up on the Saturday morning, early morning show to just kind of air it out.
2 weeks ago, Lane, you're the coach of the Trojans. These are all my fans. Yeah, they're welcoming you back. You got the.
Are they booing him? Oh my God!
You've been hanging out this week, but it had to feel a little surreal. You've not talked to anybody about the circumstances after the loss to Arizona State and Tempe.
The booing is so loud.
Just take us through that when Pat Hayden told you it's over.
Yeah, obviously.
They're cheering you got fired.
I have great passion for USC, for those players, for those coaches, and it was a difficult situation though because you put so much into those kids, and to have that taken away is very hard. It's been a very hard 2 weeks.
I mean, it's an unusual circumstance. Whatever was going on, to be pulled off of the bus with your bags on it and told it's over. Had you had conversations with Hayden or anybody at USC on where you stood before that meeting, before that game? Had they told you where they stood?
Well, Pat and I would meet all the time. Pat is a very hands-on athletic director, a great athletic director, and so we were involved throughout this whole process of over 3 years of going through everything we were going through and making strides in different areas, but Pat has a very hard job. And
there's a sign right behind them that says, "Remember when Lane Kiffin had a job?"
They hate him everywhere he goes.
This feels a little bit like an Al Davis press conference move to go on College Game Day so soon after.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a young, naive, fuck you move.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, you're watching that and you're like, ooh, this is making the vitriolic fans look really bad that they are spewing this much hate publicly on TV while that guy is sitting there. So I don't know if it was he did that to sort of garner sympathy or what, but it's a weird choice nonetheless.
Yeah. And then here's another clip from the Lane interview that we're kind of running throughout this with John Gordon.
Getting fired from USC was a perfect example of you. At that time, you think the world's over. How could we get fired? Everything goes, 28-15, and we were on sanctions, and bring all these things up, saying that gosh, will I ever be a head coach again? All these things, and now you look back and say, wow, what a great thing. You're gonna laugh, but I thank the athletic director at USC just this last year for firing me. I said that helped me, being humbled, helped me I would have never went to Alabama. I spent 3 years with Nick Saban and learned all of that, been around him.
What did you learn from Saban?
I mean, we'd be here all day on that. I think the number one thing was he's just so organized and so detailed and every little thing, and I think sometimes as especially when you're younger. You can kind of overlook things within your team or organization because you're just focused on the big things. But that's okay. We can overcome those things. And he leaves nothing undone throughout the entire organization. He's going to make sure that he covers all of it.
So, Lane Kiffin gets picked up by Alabama to be an offensive coordinator.
This is interesting because he must be at least somewhat good at coaching if he keeps getting jobs.
Yes, he's a genius offensive coach, Lane Kiffin is.
So, I really wonder what all the firing is
I think
about.
it's personality stuff. It's he has an ego and clashes with people. Here's a clip about him getting hired by Alabama in the wake of all this.
Well, we have some breaking sports news for you on this Friday evening. Alabama coach Nick Saban has hired a new offensive coordinator. Alabama has confirmed Lane Kiffin has accepted the job and has signed a 3-year contract with Alabama. Kiffin spent just 1 year as head coach at Tennessee. Most recently was fired at the University of Southern California after a disappointing 62-41 loss at Arizona State in September.
Now he's in Alabama, and like he mentioned, he's learning from the greatest college football coach, maybe of all time, Nick Saban.
Yeah, people really like him.
Yeah.
I mean, and he also sort of took a step downward because he's not head coaching anymore.
He went to like his dad, like a coordinator role.
Yeah.
So Kiffin in 2015 led Alabama's offense to a national championship, defeating Clemson 45-40 in the college football playoff. And after that, here's a clip from the Colin Cowherd show of him sort of giving Lane his flowers, talking about what you literally just mentioned, Lane being actually really good at coaching.
You read them their websites, message boards, Lane Kiffin can't coach. Nick Saban knows more than all of us, and he hired him. Last night, it wasn't Alabama's defense. It wasn't Nick Saban's defense. It wasn't Alabama's front seven. It got torched. It was Lane Kiffin in what was one of the most masterful game plans against a real team in Clemson I've ever seen. Alabama was unbelievable. 9 for 18 on third down, 13.5 yards per pass attempt, no turnovers, virtually no penalties. That was Lane Kiffin's game. Oh, it's Nick Saban's program. The special teams were fantastic. And I don't want to hear, well, that's just Alabama players. No. That quarterback, he's not going to play in the NFL. He's not even in Mel Kiper's top 10. No, that was Lane Kiffin. No penalties, no turnovers. And Bama's always effective with Nick Saban, but they're rarely fun. Last night was fun. They were flashy, and they took chances, and they were smart, and they were powerful. Alabama was everything offensively last night. That was a masterpiece. Hey, dinosaurs don't exist. Barack Obama's from Yemen. 9/11. Red Bull contains bull semen. I read it on the internet. Yes, that's the internet. Nick Saban doesn't have time for it.
All right, Colin Cowherd, now do QAnon.
I just thought it was a really good rant on Kiffin.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I was even about to say before you played that clip, I'm like, well, if you're looking to I don't know, retool your image that you're a good coach, maybe go to Alabama because they always win everything.
Yep.
But he makes a good point. I mean, it probably is true that he is really good at his job. I mean, I don't know because I've never watched, and a lot of what he said about the technical aspect of it went right over my head. But yeah.
He is at Alabama learning from Nick Saban, and in 2016, he accepted the head coaching job at Florida Atlantic University, a small school. Not something you would usually see, like a Lane Kiffin from the SEC going to Florida Atlantic, but he wanted to get back into head coaching, and he did it at a small program.
Humbled himself before God, and God is Nick Saban.
Yeah, well, I didn't mention this. There's kind of a little bit of actual God stuff in his story, but we don't need to go into it. So yeah, he accepted the head coaching job at Florida Atlantic. He led Florida Atlantic to an 11-3 season in 2017, including winning the Conference USA, and winning their bowl game.
Nice.
The Boca Raton Bowl, which is not like a huge bowl game, but it was probably the first bowl game in a long time that Florida Atlantic had been to.
Yeah.
So yeah, the best season that Florida Atlantic has had in ever. He brought them that.
Nice.
And here's a little video from ESPN with Lane at Florida Atlantic.
FAU, best start school history. They'll be in the postseason for the first time since 2008.
How do you think the meaning of winning is different here, if at all, from the other places you've been?
The reaction to winning is what is so different. Even Marshall, for the first time in school history, to be bowl eligible halfway through the year, it's totally different than other places. Here at USC, we won 34 straight games. Left Alabama, we'd won 26 straight games. You know, you kind of get used to it.
The program needed an identity. The program's identity has largely been you.
He's here. This is his first game. You ever been to a game?
Never.
First one. A lot of first timers. I'm here for Lane Kiffin.
The Lane train.
Oh my God.
Spinning around campus.
I thought it was funny.
Extra large Kiffin head.
I was watching the game when you see him in the end zone, like when we were scoring all these touchdowns.
Oh my God.
The heads are going back and forth. It was kind of like creepy.
How do you describe your relationship with Twitter?
I don't really think before I tweet. I take 5 seconds and just send it off, and I like seeing reactions. I like making people laugh.
What would you tell your players in terms of their use of Twitter?
Do as I say, not as I do.
How do you think your relationship with Saban is perceived, Lane?
Not well and wrong. The last 26 times we went on the field, 26-0. Did it take some getting used to by me? Was it rough at first? Yes, which is of my fault. He's the head coach, you know. You got to remember, prior to that, last time I was assistant coach was 6 straight years, and that was Pete Carroll. I think Nick Saban changed me. 3 years with him, the best in the world at what he does, and I got to sit there and learn. There's not a day goes by that there's not something that I don't draw out of my head of what would Coach Saban do.
Having a good mentor is really important.
Yeah, he's got a great mentor that had some conflicts with him. Yeah, so in 2020, Kiffin had his little FAU stay, and then he leaves to go back to the SEC and become a head coach at Ole Miss.
Were people mad, or did they felt like he had put in his time? And...
No, they felt like he had put in his time.
Okay.
They were just grateful that he came down there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he really had like a Friday Night Lights, like turn the whole team around. And even in that interview, he seemed a lot more humble. Like even his speaking voice was a little bit softer.
Totally different.
Yeah.
So that was around the time when that John Gordon interview we've been listening to was recorded as well at Florida Atlantic, when he's having sort of his come to
his redemption arc
moment. Yeah. So in 2021, he is with Ole Miss again, back in the SEC. So inevitably, he's going to play Alabama and Tennessee.
Oh, no.
So before the Alabama game, this was the interview on the field.
A page of notes from your time here to reference back as to what bothers the Nick Saban coach team. What's on the backside of that piece of paper to tell you about today?
Well, let's hope we didn't run out of pages. So here we go. Get your popcorn ready.
Well, what's the big thing?
Whoa.
What?
I guess he's ready.
So he just rips the headset off in the middle of the interview
and
says,
just runs
"Get
off.
your popcorn ready," and runs off.
Interesting.
He's a drama starter.
He is.
Yeah. And then here's the interview from his return to Tennessee, and they beat him.
Tennessee won the toss. They've deferred. Ole Miss will receive. And Lane Kiffin calmly makes his way onto the field. He was greeted by the student section
this year is
pre-game. And let's just say that they've been ready for him and waiting for him to take the field tonight.
Coach Kiffin, you came out to a lot of boos. What sort of gives you comfort and calm when you come out to that kind of reception?
Matt Corral. I got you on that one. I thought I was going to say popcorn.
I got mine ready. When you're gonna,
they like me a lot.
It doesn't feel like it, no. But you like when they don't like you, don't you?
It is what it is, man. These guys are passionate, great fans, electric crowd. This is college football, man.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck today.
Interesting.
They don't like me very much. They're just all saying, fuck Lane Kiffin in the background.
I wish that I could bottle some of that seemingly relative
poise
and calmness in the face of adversity.
Yeah. So he led them to a 10-2 season and a Sugar Bowl appearance. That's Ole Miss in his first season. In 2022, Ole Miss started the season strong, and there was a press conference when they needed a new punter that kind of went viral.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him. I think he was down at the frat house, like at a keg party or something, where they got him from. So we got some conditioning work to do with my guy, but we just said, hey, someone go find a punter around campus. And so we found one that actually used to punt in Division I. So you never know.
We found him at a frat party, at a keg party or something. We got some
reminds me of
conditioning to do with my guy. But
it reminds me of like a sports movie where like some random guy in town just has a really good throwing arm and they're like, you should be on the Yankees.
Yeah.
Like, I have to imagine, like, what do you think he kicked at that frat party that made everybody be like, oh
maybe he
God.
kicked a pony keg or something.
A pony keg?
The little ones?
Yeah.
Like that someone finished a Guinness pony keg and then he punted it into the lake.
And they were like, oh my God, this guy's got potential.
Holy shit, man. Get that guy a football. Yeah, he doesn't remember any of his impressive kicking. He was just blackout.
He was just blackout. He has to get blackout before he gets on the field to kick.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's got to be great for he just gets to go to the pregame of the Ole Miss football game with all the fans and then shows up and puts on gear so that he can kick. So Kiffin got signed to be the coach at Ole Miss like last year for like an extended contract. But as we've seen throughout this entire story, that means nothing in SEC football. But he's there for now and succeeding. And I'm just going to play at the end here a few more clips from that interview that I've been going back to just to get various reflections.
I used to get frustrated with coaches a lot. And I had one of our sports psychologists told me that dealt with our players all the time. He said, remember, what are coaches? They're former players. So when you have players, do you get frustrated? Do you just get frustrated? No, you keep coaching them. You find a different technique, a different way to teach them. So I have applied that now, and that's really helped me just slow down with guys and see things differently. Everybody has things they're good at instead of focusing, okay, this guy can't do this. This guy screws this up. Well, wait, hey, he may be better at this part of something than I am, so let's use him in that area to help our team. And everyone's telling you every day, oh man, that's so great. You guys won all these games and you guys score all these points and do all these things. You're the youngest, this and all that. To me, you've got to have the rest of your life nailed in order to be able to deal with that stuff at a young age. That's why we see so many people fail with it in all different, whether it's music, whether it's professional athletes. We see it happen all the time.
Knox decides to be a coach. Would you support that, your son Knox?
I actually just thought about it this weekend. Because we were watching some games, watching the LSU game. He was rooting for Coach Orgeron, and he started saying he didn't like this other game we flipped to. I won't say which game. The coach wasn't using his timeouts very well. He didn't like that. So I kind of started thinking about that, and I would have always thought the answer would be yes. Like I would push him that way, push him to play football, push him to coach. And again, one of those things is you change as you get older. You really don't care. I don't. You see, again, you go around, you see so many unhappy people with all kinds of success that, I want him, just like my two daughters, I want them to do something they're excited about, that they want to go to work every day. Because that's foreign nowadays. There's so many people that dislike their job.
Fair. Really fair. I mean, this does sound like a guy who has like grown up and has taken steps to like be a better, more self-reflective person. And I do appreciate that. I also appreciate the comments about like finding different ways to work with athletes and remembering that like people who coach are usually former players.
Yeah.
Like there's that old adage that everybody talks about, like those who can't do teach, or in this case, those who can't do coach. And like, as this relates to me, to like theater, I had so many professors, directors, whatever throughout my life who like clearly still wanted to be performing or like were bitter about why they weren't performing or whatever. And they were horrible teachers, not because they didn't have like wisdom to impart and not because they didn't like understand the scene or the show or whatever, but because their like ego and personality got in the way of like, I don't know, being nice or gentle or constructive or whatever. And so I think it's important that he's like reflecting on that.
Yeah. And for me, I just remember this. I remember all the drama. I remember the fuck Lane Kiffin of it all. And I just was like, oh, that guy must suck. Like, he must be terrible. And I think he's just a problematic guy with certain relationships, and he's learned a lot publicly. I've also watched interviews with him where he's like, I don't care what anybody says. I don't read anything in the press or whatever. So, like, he's not going to care what we think. But based on everything we could learn that wasn't just about like maybe his most personal life, it seemed that he showed growth.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really trust a mob of SEC fans that are carrying a torch to have like a measured, well-informed opinion on something. No offense.
But at the same time, I think he was a little bit of a drama
I'm
queen
sure. No,
throughout.
Definitely.
And he like pushed buttons that he didn't need to. Pushed Al Davis's buttons when he just realized he could do it.
100%.
That kind of thing.
I mean, he definitely needed someone to be like, I don't know, maybe like take a breath before you. Like, he was a shit stirrer for sure, which is something you do when you're young and you don't know better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about this just because like his early career took place when we were like finishing college and entering the world. And so I'm just like,
he was only 10 years older than us.
Yeah. So I'm just like thinking about it. I'm like, me in 2011, I wasn't doing any good decision making then either. I'm glad nobody's charting my progress.
I probably would have been in the fuck Lane Kiffin crowd if it was at Wisconsin. So like, I don't really blame them either.
Like the information you have access to as just a viewer doesn't paint a good picture of him.
Okay, well, that was the Lane Kiffin episode, and I thought that was just like a really fun journey.
That was really interesting. I really liked that a lot. Like, I had never heard of this person, and it was so interesting to see the trajectory of like, this guy is a football coach. Now, there are plenty of like, quote unquote, famous football coaches if you are someone who is invested in watching sports. But if you are not, it's the same as me being like, oh my God, this one important theater director. Like, if I said the name Tina Landau to you, you'd be like,
no.
Yeah. It's interesting as someone who did not spend this time like watching this stuff to be like, oh my God, like people were really upset about that.
About Lane Kiffin.
There was a lot in here too, just sort of about like the old guard versus the new guard. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed like he and Al Davis were never going to get along.
No, it was just a timelines thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like how dinosaurs didn't live at the same time as all the mammals we see now. Okay.
And dinosaurs didn't sleep until 2 p.m. I don't know. That was kind of mean, actually. Like, the poor guy's so old, but he really should have retired.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening to another episode. And we have a Patreon if you want more episodes.
Yes, patreon.com/SKDK pod if you're interested. Also, if you're enjoying the show, feel free to leave a review.
Yep. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.